Welcome back. Vice President Kamala Harris finally revealing more of her economic policy during a campaign stop at a New Hampshire brewery yesterday. Harris paring back President Biden's top capital gains tax rate proposal, instead proposing an all-in top rate of 33%. That's the highest rate since 1978, with a new 28% capital gains rate and a 5% investment income tax, she says. Harris also says she would expand the startup expense deduction for small businesses from $5,000 to $50,000, a policy plan that the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation says would cost about $20 billion over 10 years. The Small Business and Entrepreneurship Council also said this in a statement: while the proposed increase in the startup deduction is a welcome policy proposal, unfortunately, a range of other policies being pushed by Vice President Harris work against small business survival and growth. Joining me now is Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne. She's a member of the House Ways and Means and Small Business Committees and the House Subcommittee on Oversight. Good to see you. Thanks very much for being here, Congresswoman. Give us your thoughts on Kamala Harris's proposals, what you know they are, on small business and the economy.
Yeah, I think it's a campaign talking point. It's got absolutely no teeth. Let's face it, if she was concerned about small businesses, why has this administration pushed down over $1.3 trillion of regulations on them in the last 3.5 years? Why did she vote against the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which would have helped these businesses? Why just a few weeks ago is she introducing new policies that would actually add $5 trillion of additional costs to these businesses? Let's face it, if she was concerned about this, she would not have the tax policies that she's had. If she was concerned about this, she would have voted for the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. She would have get Chuck Schumer to pass the bill that we passed out of the House just a few months ago that would help small businesses. And she would revert to Trump's policies on regulations, that for every regulation you add, you take away 2. This is exactly the opposite that the Biden-Harris administration has done.
Well, it's a good point to make on regulations, certainly. You've got lots of businesses out there, from small to medium and big, all talking about the fact that the new regulations around the climate change agenda have been onerous and have created more bureaucracy to actually seeing growth longer term. What do you expect Trump will do with regard to regulation?
I think he already started. He's already proven what he'll do, and that is he recognizes the fact that these agencies are well over their skis, that they are enacting regulations that cripple American businesses, that don't even reflect the intent of the laws that were passed, and are just doing it to build the bureaucracy. What you saw during his first 4 years in office was he attacked that. He helped American businesses grow, and they'll tell you that as a result, they invested more in their employees, and they invested more in their future, and they brought back, for where they were offshoring, back onto U.S. soil. Yeah. This is exactly what we need for U.S. businesses.
So what are you expecting from the election? And I want to get your take on the SAVE Act, because, of course, House Speaker Mike Johnson has unveiled plans to attach the SAVE Act to a continuing resolution to avoid a partial government shutdown at the end of the month. During a lawmaker-only phone call yesterday, I've reported this many times now in the last few weeks, that the Speaker wants to attach the SAVE Act, which, of course, would ensure a safe election by prohibiting non-citizens from voting. The vote on the measure would likely come next week when lawmakers return from their August recess. And if passed, the SAVE Act would certainly prevent non-citizens from voting in the upcoming election. But how likely is this to materialize? What do you think?
That's a great question. What we've already heard a message from the White House is that they wouldn't sign it. What we've already heard from Democrats is they would rather shut down the government and allow illegals to vote than to vote for this bill. But let's face it, I hate voting for CRs. We should not have to do that. The House is doing its job to pass appropriation bills, but you've got the Senate who hasn't passed one spending bill. I hate doing it because it's continuing the spend that I've already voted against in previous budgets. I want to get back to pre-COVID spending. If we're going to have a CR to avoid a shutdown, we had better have teeth in it. In the SAVE Act, I supported. We voted out of the House before we left to go back and work in our districts in August. We've already voted it out. And again, Schumer and the Democrats in the Senate are sitting on it.
Yeah, so I know that Senate Majority Leader Schumer told Fox News Digital in a statement, this is his statement, quote, "As we have said each time we've had a CR, the only way to get things done is in a bipartisan way." Congresswoman, I mean, he's trying to say it's in a bipartisan way and the SAVE Act is not bipartisan, but I don't understand why the Democrats are against ensuring that American citizens are voting.
Yeah, I think that's a perfectly great question. I'd love to have that answered by Democrats. We did have a bipartisan measure that was passed out. The SAVE Act had 5 Democrats that voted for it in the House. So you can argue it was a bipartisan bill. But let's face it, thousands of voters count. We had 45,000 votes define the election back in 2020. You look at Georgia, that was just over 12,000 votes. In Arizona, it was 10,000 votes. And we've seen in our own state of Texas, when you clean your voter rolls, we had 6,500 illegal immigrants that were signed up to vote, that were registered to vote in our state, 6,000 that have been wiped off the rolls in Virginia. This law, the SAVE Act, would actually allow and give more teeth for other states to have to do that. These thousands of votes are going to make the difference between what happens in November.
Yeah. Lee Carter, I want to bring you in here. You speak to Republicans, Democrats, independents all the time. You know, sort of with your finger on the pulse of where voters are. Do you ever hear an answer from Democrats in terms of why they're so against having ID to vote and why they're so against something like the SAVE Act that would prohibit non-citizens from voting?
No. It all gets lumped in.
Yeah, hold on 1 second, Congressman. Go ahead, Lee Carter.
It all gets lumped into one thing, which is if you stand for this, then you must be anti-humanitarian and all of these other things that go with it. But it doesn't make any sense, and there isn't a feeling on one of these things. It just does not make sense. It doesn't stand up, and you can't push people on it to give you a real answer on why they support it.
Yeah, it's really something, Congresswoman, that the Democrats keep digging in. I mean, even Merrick Garland said that he vows to stop any voter ID for an election. Why?
Because we already have laws against it, but we're having to force the federal government right now to do the same thing.
Yeah.
We have taxpayer dollars in these federal agencies. They have been active by a Biden-Harris executive order that we're having our agencies actively campaign and register voters in Democrat areas, specifically to get them to vote in this election.
All right, I want to move on.
I think it's a violation of the
So that's what you believe they want. They want illegals to vote. Is that what you just said?
Look, if you listen to them. Don't listen to us. Listen to them. You've got people like Yvette Clarke who are talking about needing to have more illegals in her district in order for her to keep her congressional district seat.
Wow.
You're seeing them vote. Only 5 voted. Only 5 of our Democrat colleagues voted for the SAVE Act when we just had it last month, a month and a half ago in our House.
That's
Why
discouraging.
Why are they?
I want to get your take on policy
already.
because
if they're afraid of it, vote for it. One
of the most glaring differences between Trump and Kamala Harris is the wide open border. Harris and Joe Biden have allowed 10 million plus illegals to come into this country in the last 3.5 years, including violent gangs. And the violent Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, has now moved into North Texas, we are told, according to the Dallas Police Department. We know they're running around New York City as well. That's what the NYPD told me. We're also learning that a Haitian migrant was arrested in Massachusetts after allegedly molesting a 10-year-old boy. He entered the U.S. last year through the Biden-Harris administration's controversial migrant flight program. And Fox News senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy grilled the Biden-Harris administration yesterday on the New York Post report that migrants are flooding New York City's justice system. Watch this.
Vice President Harris once said years ago that she wanted to decriminalize illegal border crossing. Now she's saying that her values haven't changed. And so how much ownership does she have for this latest NYPD stat that 75% of arrests in Midtown Manhattan lately have been migrant?
Her values haven't changed, and you heard that on the interview that she did with CNN very recently, and I think that's important. I think someone's values matter, and that's what you see from the vice president of this administration, including Harris, because this is the Biden-Harris administration, believe that anyone found guilty of crimes should be held accountable.
Yeah, a lot of talking points there, Congresswoman, but the facts are the facts. 75% of those being arrested in New York are migrants. Your thoughts?
When you don't enforce laws, this is exactly what happens. Look at what her policies are, not what she's saying. Look at the result of her policies. We've led to this crime, and the only reason why they're doing it is to maintain power. They have been very vocal about that. They're continuing to do it. Yeah. And she can say whatever she wants to win a campaign, but her policies have shown differently.
All right, we'll leave it there, Congresswoman. Good to see you this